Good evening, it's me, Miss Jill Louise Starr, and as many of you know, I have a degree in sociology. I was inducted into the International Sociological Honor Society. I've been published around the world in many uh, peer journal articles. I was published by Sociological, by the University of Belgrade in Czechoslovakia, and many other places in the world. And tonight I'm going to discuss a small study, sociological study, which is kind of cute, where we will discuss and compare my eyewitness testimony and who is more violent, William Jefferson Clinton or is it Ratko Mladic? What do you think? Well, we're going to find out. I don't know if any of you have read, but I really enjoyed reading the book entitled, quote, Stay the Hand of Vengeance by Mr. Gary Bass. If you haven't read it, I suggest you do if you're interested in the conflict in the Balkans. It's an excellent book. It's real and truthful, and I think it's very important to read. I especially like it because it manifests exactly what I myself mean when saying, as a sociologist, people whom regularly engaged in violent acts and criminal violence, genocide, beating people up, they're generally violent people, talk about it. For instance, if I go down to the local bar, the trackside, a mile down the street from me, I, in fact, can hear violence because most of the people in there are violent every night. If I've been in there several times over the past several months, and whenever I go in there, somebody's knocked out, the police come, and there's blood and gore pouring on the floor. There's been several injuries, someone almost died in there once, there've been gang fights in there. That's just the place it is, and when you go in there and you talk to the people, what do they talk about? People that are violent talk about violence. Hey, I kicked that one's ass last night. Hey, I beat the blank out of this person. I had him by the head. People that are violent talk about violence. And I think that you'll notice that people that are bullies talk about bullying people. They act like bullies, and they act. They talk the talk, and they walk the walk. Bullies are bullies. Violent people talk about violence. Drug dealers tend to talk about dealing drugs and doing drugs. In any event, what do we find when we analyze the rhetoric of Richard Holbrooke and former United States President William Jefferson Clinton? We find that they talk very violent, and I think they're very violent people. Because in the book, Gary Bass wrote about the Slobodan Milosevic trial up to the point of his death, prematurely and untimely at The Hague, I might add. Bill Clinton's is quoted in Mr. Bass's book, talking in a very extremely violent manner. Let's read here. Let's see. Although I spent years working closely and being friends with Darko Trifunovic, and I met Ratko Mladic, spent time with Radovan Karadzic and Goran Hadžić, I never once heard a curse word, and I also had dinner with Nicholas Stanovic, who's at The Hague, Slobodan Milosevic's former deputy prime minister. I've never once heard any violence from those men, any curse words from those men, anything violent. I once tried to impress Darko Trifunovic as a young college student and stated that I didn't think, I said something to the effect that who needs those Muslims in Kosovo? And he said, Jill, don't talk like that. Everyone deserves human rights in Kosovo, even Muslims do. So he corrected me, and so those people that believe that he stated, quote, Mladic, I wish Mladic killed them all in that article written by some fake person named Richard. It's entirely ridiculous, because if Darko hated Muslims, I certainly, after spending almost 3 years of every waking moment of my life with him and his wife, I think I would have known if he was a racist person. I can tell you certainly was not, or I would not hang out with him or have befriended him and his wife. But now what about Bill Clinton? I certainly have not spoken to Bill Clinton, but Gary Bass has several statements Bill Clinton has made during the Balkan Wars, and they sound very violent. In fact, in 1993, Although I've never heard one violent diplomatic comment emanate from Darko Trifunovic or anyone else asserted as shaded or condemned of war criminals at The Hague in the jail cell right now, Bill Clinton in 1993 stated in reference to the Bosnian War, quote, "We are, the United States, are not inflicting enough pain on those fuckers, the Serbs. When people kill us, they should be killed, and in greater numbers." Bill Clinton goes on to say, quote, "I believe in killing people who try to hurt you, comma, I can't believe we're being pushed around by those two-bit pricks, the Serbs." This quote by Mr. Clinton was given to us by Mr. George Stephanopoulos, former White House aide, who everybody knows, in his book All Too Human, page 214. Now, when we reference Chapter 6 of Gary Bass's book on The Hague, Stay the Hand of Vengeance, and we can read additional violent diplomatic rhetoric emanating from Bill Clinton's administration and himself in where they say, quote, "Good Serb, bad Serb media campaign against Serbs, and whereby former U.S. Secretary of State Madeleine Albright used and abused the Hague international justice system." You can read more about, Bill Clinton's politics of violent rhetoric in Gary Bass's book, Stay the Hand of Vengeance, and many more comments. A lot of ambassadors have quoted him saying, and when I compare the rhetoric of Ratko Mladic to former U.S. President Bill Clinton, I really have to say, from my own personal testimony, Bill Clinton seems much more likely to commit genocide and acts of violence, including putting a hit on Vincent Foster and denying it, and passing it off as a suicide, who was a threat to him, than Ratko Mladic. I don't believe he's a war criminal. I don't think he would ever condemn or issue a verdict to kill anyone. I mean, he's too smart of a man to think that you could get rid of all Muslims in the world anyway. It's totally ridiculous. He's a smart man. Anyway, I hope you found this topic of interesting this evening, and I certainly will have more information on it later. Thank you for joining me, and good night.